So the launch of Mario Kart World just got much bigger, and I'm very excited to go over some of the information that Nintendo has revealed that actually put some shockwaves through the community about this next Mario Kart game. So I want to go through some of that and actually show just how long this game was in development and what's happening with it, because my excitement has just went up even further. So let's first start off with the game itself. This game's development with Mario Kart World actually started back in 2017 on the Nintendo Switch 1. This was super interesting to hear about because some people have wondered, when did Nintendo actually even start making Mario Kart World? The fact that we didn't get a Mario Kart game, a new Mario Kart game on the Nintendo Switch 1, was it because the sales of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe were just doing so well? What happened there? Well, they kind of answered all of those questions at this point that we've had for pretty much the whole generation of the Nintendo Switch 1. So essentially, the whole thing was that they actually wanted to get the game on the Nintendo Switch 1 at first, but they were looking for a huge, big type of game. The concept of Mario Kart World and having an open world game was there from the very beginning. Unfortunately, the Nintendo Switch 1 just wasn't up to snuff to get that envisioned and to get exactly what they wanted to do. They stated very early that, hey, look, 60 frames per second is an absolute must when it comes to Mario Kart. That's something that we need to have in the game. But when they were trying to make the game, the huge open world, the vistas, the types of racers with 24 racers, and all the stuff that you see in Mario Kart World right now, the game was struggling on the Nintendo Switch 1. They had to think of all sorts of stuff. They had to think of toning down the visuals, lowering the resolution, dropping the frame rate to 30 FPS. There were all sorts of tough decisions all around, and that's something that for Mario Kart, you do not want a competitive racing online multiplayer game like that to run at 30. You got to remember, Splatoon, ARMS, Smash Brothers, all of Nintendo's multiplayer games are all running at 60 for that smooth type of play, at least offline. Online, obviously, you can have some drops here and there, but the general gist of it, if everything is in perfect conditions, it's going to run at 60. Then, of course, offline running at 60. So having it run at 30 and toning things down significantly from what we've got right now definitely isn't ideal. Now, here's the thing. They talked about how they kind of kicked the can down the road for a while, for about 3 years of just trying to get this game to work, from 2017 or so to about 2020. And they really just couldn't fulfill what they wanted to do. So what they did in the meantime, to give us some extra time, let's put out this Mario Kart 8 Deluxe booster course. This booster course gives us some extra time. People can still play Mario Kart and get something new out of it, so people aren't expecting some type of new game sometime soon, because that was the narrative back then, was, okay, we got a port, but when's the new game coming? It should come maybe in 2019 or 2020 or 2021. That was the narrative. People were saying, okay, give them some more time, I guess, to make a new game, considering that Mario Kart 8's life was cut short due to the Wii U flopping and failing. Mario Kart 8 came out in 2014. The Nintendo Switch launched in 2017. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was out in April of 2017. So Mario Kart 8 didn't have a long life on the Wii U. So that was part of the narrative overall. So they did release that booster course to give them some more time. But when the conversation came up about moving the game to the Nintendo Switch 2, that essentially, quote, opened up a bunch of possibilities on what we could do. It was truly a ray of hope. That was the desperation that they were going through with the Nintendo Switch 1, apparently. They were struggling to even get this thing going on that system. So development moved over in 2020. Now, at that time, they had a general idea of what the specs were going to be for the Nintendo Switch 2, but it wasn't until later that they actually had development kits and started the hard development and programming on the game. In the meantime, they used provisional estimates before they finally got the kits in and were able to make what they wanted to make. Now, here's another thing about this, guys, that's very important, and this is taken all from the interview on Mario Kart World directly from the developers. Now, this vast world, they stated that it wouldn't have ran at 60 frames per second or even had a consistent frame rate. There would have been frame rate drops if it was on the Nintendo Switch 1. All of their worries, now other developers also talked about this too that were in the interview, all of their worries evaporated when they moved to Nintendo Switch 2. They were overjoyed they could include everything they wanted to make. They can make the art richer, they can add in more detail like the extra trees and what you see, and essentially it gave them the processing power and the ability to put 24 racers on the screen at 60 frames with the amount of detail and trees and signposts and different things that you see in the game right now. So essentially, the Nintendo Switch 2 was pretty much needed for this to be the game that it is. The Switch 1 version, if there was a Switch 1 version, it would have been significantly worse overall. And essentially, the development of the Switch 1 version of this game was ceased in 2019, 2020-ish. So they've been working on the Switch 2 for 5+ years, but overall the concept of the game started in 2017 or so. So that was very interesting to see overall. But what's also interesting is all the new people that are not subscribed that like Mario Kart hitting that subscribe button if you're enjoying the content. So please make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and click that notification bell to get my vids as soon as they drop, as we're going to have a ton of gameplay and content on Mario Kart World. Now let's talk about some new features in the game as well that I'm very excited about, which make the launch even bigger than what we thought. This was stuff that was not in anything else so far when it comes to what Nintendo's talked about with Mario Kart World. Shout outs to my man Stealth on this when he talked about how there are now road sign stickers that are collectibles in Mario Kart World. They can be placed on the carts for customization. So based off of what you do in the game, you will earn these different types of stickers. And once you get those stickers, you can slap them on different parts of the car for a nice little touch of extra customization. Now, how you earn these stickers, I'm guessing it's going to be winning races or doing different types of missions, or winning the knockout tour, or going to a certain place, or collecting this many items, or doing something like that. There's going to be various different, essentially, achievements in the game that give you a visual representation of what happened here or what you've done, because there's one that's a coin, there's one that's like a ice flower, there's one that's a repair service, or one way, or red shell. So I guess if you hit somebody with red shells and stuff, I'm not sure exactly how it works, but either way, it's good that they're actually showing some extra content here. Now, I've had talks with people online already, like saying, hey, well, why didn't they have this at the Nintendo Direct for Mario Kart World? And yeah, that's definitely a good question overall. I do think that stuff like this is good to have it kind of spread out. You don't want all of your eggs in one basket overall with the Direct, and that was just kind of a recap of information. I actually called that on the Spawncast before the Direct came out. I was like, I don't think they're going to show too many new things because they just showed a bunch of stuff, and then we're probably going to get some more stuff later down the line, or they're just going to leave it for us to explore and find it out ourselves. So I felt that that was going to happen, and now we're getting some more content come up. Now, another really cool thing that I think is awesome, which makes this a much bigger launch for the game, is that there are over 200 music tracks for this game. It's going to be for a jukebox, which is the music for free roam, including brand new arrangements and live recordings. Quote, we prepared pieces from quite a wide variety of musical genres. So they also showed off some cool concept art as well for the game, and it's just crazy to see 200 music tracks. That's significantly more than Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which that had what, 90 something courses in there, so at least 90 something tracks along with like the menu musics and other things like that. So you're probably looking at around like what, 100 tracks or so. They've double plus that, so it's over 200. We're probably looking at around 220, 230 tracks overall when it comes down to it. So that is incredible that they've been able to put that much music into the game. I'm guessing the compression wizards over at Nintendo putting that many live recordings and brand new arrangements and all that is great, but music in Mario Kart is definitely important, especially for this style of game, open world. You're going to want to have a bunch of different tracks to listen to. You don't want it to get boring with the music, so having this many music tracks and having it be a jukebox to where you can play what you want is going to make exploring and free roaming even better in the game. Now, another thing that I want to talk about that makes this launch bigger as well is some of the key takeaways overall, there are still secret techniques and different things that you can do in the game when it comes to, obviously, they showed off some of them, but it seems like there's going to be some other things overall as well. But the varied side quests, that is also another big thing as well that I'm looking forward to. They showed off another one with like the Moo Moo Meadows, or like the cow where you have to drive through the herds of the cows in a certain amount of time, but there's going to be even more than that. It's not just going to be collecting coins or go from here to there. There's going to be other stuff that you do, and this is the next evolution of mission mode. This is mission mode 2.0, but to me it's actually better and more immersive than the mission mode that they had in Mario Kart DS, because that one you just pick from a menu. You just go, okay, mission 1, 2, 3, you just pick from there, and then you do the mission, and then that's that, which is fine. But this one you actually have an open world to explore, so the exploration is part of the gameplay, and then I would say the joy of actually being able to find something within there, that's more satisfying than picking a mission and say, hey, you have to do this, then do this. Like now it's like, okay, you actually get to explore. That's part of the gameplay. Then when you find something, it's like a secret. Oh wow, I found this cool mission that I'm going to do, that I'm going to, you know, conquer, or I can see it that if I can conquer it, and then it feels better. Almost like Metroid, for example, finding like an energy tank or like a bomb upgrade or something like that. It's cool because it's part of the exploration of the game. So I really like the fact that yes, they're going to have more varied missions, and they showed off just a little bit there as well. They also talked about how the tone and overall style of the game kind of changed from more of a sharp futuristic look to a cartoony rounded type of look, which was interesting to see. And there is a day-night cycle in the game, which we did know about, but the day-night cycle is about 24 minutes long. So that's another thing right there. And once again, this was all possible with the 24 racers, the open world, all the different stuff that they can do. That was all possible because of the Nintendo Switch 2 overall. Now, one more thing that I also want to note here that we've talked about on this channel quite a bit was, why was it not called Mario Kart 9? And is Mario Kart Tour considered Mario Kart 9? And we finally have our answer with that overall. They stated that if they just added more tracks to the overall design of what Mario Kart 8 was, or Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was, then they probably would have just called it Mario Kart 9. It's just a continuation. Okay, you get the same great gameplay that you know, that you love, and all of that, or maybe you hate but you still play, and then we're just going to make that even bigger and better. Great, Mario Kart 9. But they said, since we're doing something completely different, since we're having an open world, since we're having a different style when it comes to the rail grinding, when it comes to the wall rides and different things like that, we wanted to call it World because it signifies what we're doing within the game. It also says, once again, that Mario Kart Tour is not a numbered mainline type of Mario game, which we did know because in one of my live streams, we actually looked over what each of the mainline Mario Kart games have, and they all have the motif from Super Mario Kart, the original game on the Super Nintendo. The din 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 din, like, you know, that little motif that from the original game. All of the different Mario Kart games that are mainline, at least, have that motif somewhere in there, hidden in there in the tracks for every single main Mario Kart game. Mario Kart Tour does not have that, and I don't think the Mario Kart arcade game has that either. So there you go with that overall. So what do you guys think when it comes to Mario Kart World and the launch? To me, I think that this game is looking fantastic. It's shaping up to be really good. I've watched so much footage of what we've already seen from the Treehouse gameplay. Now that I've read through this interview, all of the important parts, what they're adding here, I think this game is going to be excellent to play. And we didn't even really get into the online play more with the Knockout Tour and some of the other stuff, which we've talked about before, but that's going to be like the main meat and potatoes of the game. But having a lot of single player or like side missions and other things to kind of explore and do is something that I definitely appreciate overall. If one, I'm not connected to the internet for whatever reason, and two, so I can just have more content outside of just the racing on the internet, actually doing other things, which I've wanted them to do for quite some time. Mario Kart 8 literally had nothing. All it had is like what? The battle mode, which was fine if you like battle mode, which this game has battle mode as well, but they didn't really have anything like mission mode or a single player mode or anything like that. They just had like Grand Prix, and they just had like time trials in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. That was it. So the fact that they're actually putting in this open world that you can explore and you can do missions and other stuff is definitely a good thing overall for the game. But what are your thoughts when it comes to all the new information here with the 200 plus tracks and the varied side missions, plus what happened with the game originally on the Nintendo Switch 1 and moving to the Switch 2? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch 2 RPG content, Mario Kart World, and more right here on screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.